Welcome back, everyone. We're here with another show, Q&A, anything related to nutrition, food, diet. Anything I say is not meant to diagnose or replace your medical care. Check with your doctor before implementing any of the suggestions because we legally cannot cure anyone today. So thanks for that. Let's dive in, Steve, and get through these questions. There's quite a few of them.
Good morning, everyone. Let's go to, coincidentally, Eric from Rumble. What are the best supplements to heal damaged nerves from spike proteins, specifically the taste buds?
I would recommend, and I would do this 4 times a day, spread out, a product called benfotiamine, which is a fat-soluble B1, which tends to be really good for anything related to the nervous system. That's what I would do if I were you. Benfotiamine, 4 times a day.
Excellent. All right, get on that. Hopefully that works for you. Gordy from YouTube, I would like to supplement with magnesium regularly, but I find it interrupts my sleep. That's interesting. Alternatives you suggest?
On a rare occasion, things like this kind of work in opposite. So you need to take that early in the morning when you wake up. It's really interesting because there's certain things that like supposed to put you to sleep, but they actually wake you up. So you just reverse the time you take it early morning, and it'll probably make you more energetic because realize that magnesium also supplies 300 enzymes, which means that you might be very deficient in certain enzymes that need it more than something related to, putting you to sleep, like GABA. So because it's involved in energy, producing energy with ATP, in the last little part of the mitochondria, you need that magnesium to generate ATP. So that could be why it makes you wake up, because it's supplying more of that. So just take it in the morning and should solve your problem.
All right, hope that works. And let's go all the way to New Zealand where it's 3 o'clock in the morning. So we're going to get Penny on and out. And it's snowing down there. It's just a completely alternate world. Penny, go ahead with your one question for Dr. Berg, please.
Thank you. Good morning, Dr. Berg. I have been doing carnivore for 16 months now, and I have come across a thing where if I'm doing aerobic exercise and I'm wanting to do some high intensity exercise, about between 3 and 4 in the morning, I'm getting night shakes. If I get up and have some honey or a little bit of cheese, it's okay. I'm freezing cold, but I'm sweating and my skin's burning hot. I wonder if you can help me.
Yeah, you gave me a lot of good clues, because it sounds like there's a little glitch with your autonomic nervous system that regulates some of these things, especially temperature, perspiration. So you want to supply more vitamin B1 for that. And then that also relates if you exercise and you have this more like not nervous energy, but just more electrical activity, maybe your engine's kind of revved up. That could also relate to too much buildup in lactic acid, which the antidote to that is B1 again. So the receptors for B1 also need helper nutrients, so magnesium. So if you took some magnesium and B1, that may greatly help you. Now, you also gave me another clue with adding a little more honey tend to help that. So that, because what happens when you go, if you're not fully converted to keto and you go to sleep at night, maybe the blood sugars go down, and then you have these counter hormones, adrenaline, cortisol, that kicks in there for the purpose of raising the blood sugar up because they mobilize glucose. And then just the fact that happens, that can wake you up. In which case, so I would try the first thing I told you, and then if that doesn't work, I would be in the evening, just have some berries, have a little more carbohydrate, to see if that doesn't just help your blood sugar. See which one works better.
Thank you. Great.
Sure.
That's great. Well, thanks for coming to us and hanging on so long. Penny, we pray that will give you some great results. All right, let's move back to social media, where Kenneth from YouTube is asking, I've been reading conflicting information on consuming red meat and prostate health. Please share your thoughts on this latest rumor or whatever.
It is a rumor. It does not worsen the prostate any way, shape, or form, and actually it will probably help your prostate more if you have a high quality grass-fed, grass-finished red meat. There's so much attacks now on red meat because we're trying to get rid of certain things involved in the dietary food guidelines. Like we want to get rid of this restriction on saturated fats. We want people to have more freedom to eat more meat, right? Versus restricted red meat. So there's all sorts of things floating around that's absolutely not true, especially for the prostate. If you're consuming, let's say, dairy, and it's maybe commercial dairy, maybe that might worsen the prostate because of the hormones involved, possibly. But typically, red meat will actually probably help you more with these glands than hurt you.
All right, very good. Let's see. Go to Spa from YouTube. I've been diagnosed with a floating kidney. What would you recommend to address this issue? Ever heard of such a thing?
I really have not heard about a floating kidney. Maybe I heard of a floating rib, but not a floating kidney. So I don't know if they're related. So yeah, sorry, can't help you with that one.
All right, well, good luck for that with that, Spa. Let's move over to Solar from YouTube. What would be the best treatment for third degree burns all over the body? Sorry to hear about that.
Yeah. There's I don't know if the skin is too damaged, there's actually a skin bank. It's an organ bank. But they have skin that, they actually have it's a whole corporation that actually can help, replace skin and different tissues that people need. And skin is a really big one because you get burned. But if it's not that damaged, I think there's a couple things that would be very beneficial. A very high quality vitamin E, because vitamin E helps with a lot of things. It's an antioxidant, it's a protective, but vitamin E also prevents scarring. That's one thing I would look at, but I'm sure there's other things. I just have not dove too deeply into that. But yeah, that's definitely a situation. And also even internally, the question is, what would you take internally to help your skin? Because you're dealing with probably the biggest barrier to your immune system externally. So you want to keep your immune system high. I would definitely at the same time beef up your vitamin D, magnesium, zinc for the immune system. Take a good amount of vitamin E. I don't know if you can take it topically, maybe with the vitamin E, or even internally. But that's what comes to mind when you ask that.
All right, Solar, we were pulling for you and your loved ones. Goomba Vinny from Rumble. I need help with tinnitus, vertigo, and ear fullness with Meniere's disease. What could I do to alleviate these conditions? Got a lot of them.
I should do a video on that, but you said you have tinnitus, which is ringing in the ear, but then you have also vertigo. So you got two different things. One of the things to look at is there any mucus in your inner ear? That can cause it. Let's say there's an external allergy, something, or maybe you have yeast and overgrowth because you took an antibiotic and the fungus and mold grows in the inner ear, in which case a good remedy is propolis, which is from bees, which is like bee bread. It's not exactly bee bread, but it's helps your immune system. That's a good remedy, but also just a drop of garlic oil could help that if that's what it is. The other thing with ringing in the ear is vitamin D. Higher amounts of vitamin D will help balance out that, maybe some calcium crystals that broke off into the inner ear, which could also relate to equilibrium problems. And because there's in the little hairs, there's little weights on the hairs to kind of keep things in balance. And sometimes we develop, those break off and they create problems with all sorts of issues. So those are two things, but I have videos on this. There's a whole procedure you can do if it's a calcium dislodging in the ear. There's a whole procedure that you can undo that. So you should watch that. And then also, vitamin K2 to help as well. But yeah, watch my videos on that.
All right, very good. And watch this, the first question of the day. There you go, Dr. Berg.
Okay. Out of all 3 exercises for flat feet, which is the absolute best? And that's walking, sprinting, or foot exercises.
Okay, take a good look at those and then make your decision, audience. Okay, let's go back to social media where the Batman from YouTube, what can be done sorry, that slipped out of my view, about Crohn's disease?
That is a digestive issue, and you need to avoid all grains, especially gluten, and probably a lot of other things like nuts. I think probably the best thing to do is to go carnivore for a while, because then you're going to eliminate all these things that irritate your gut, and you'll heal it because you're consuming a lot more glutamine. I would also recommend taking zinc carnosine to help the internal gut. But there's a lot of other things you can do as well. But that's what I would do if I were you.
All right, very good. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find out if beyond New Zealand, our great guest, Penny, there's others watching the show, and they are coming to us today from the UK, Canada, Mexico, Jordan, Romania, Bali, Nigeria, Panama, Jamaica, Guyana, Malta, Trinidad and Tobago, Turkey, Nigeria, Kurdistan, Portugal, Brunei, Scotland, the Czech Republic, Moldova, Norway, Bangladesh, Ethiopia, Morocco, Bermuda, the Netherlands, South Africa, Ghana, Italy, Albania, Curacao, Israel, Ireland, Greece, the Virgin Islands, Botswana, Japan, Finland, the Philippines, Eritrea, Taiwan, the United Arab Emirates, Honduras, Australia, Denmark, Poland, France, New Zealand, Egypt, Chile, Sweden, Belize, nice place, Kuwait, Croatia, and all across these United States. So thanks everybody so much for joining us in our concerted effort to become healthier with Dr. Berg's great counsel. Carol from YouTube, what's the best remedy for a constant coughing from a hiatal hernia? Ouch.
Well, that could be one cause, but obviously if there is some acid coming all the way up, irritating it, that valve on the top of the stomach needs to close tighter. And one really good remedy is just to acidify the stomach with betaine hydrochloride. Not just one, but probably maybe start off with like 4 or 5 before a meal, and then maybe go up a little bit more before a meal, and then give that time to work, because when the stomach becomes more acidic, it sends signals up to that valve to keep it shut. Chances are the stomach is too alkaline. It's really hard to test for that. So that's what I would do. There's also some manual. I'm going to make a note of this to see if I think I've done a video on this. I think I have. But there's a manual procedure that you could kind of massage underneath your rib cage to help put that thing back in place, which will help. The other thing is that, well, I'm not going to get into it, but if that's not the reason, then there could be another reason why that valve's not closing, which could be your vitamin B1 deficient. So sometimes you might need to take more B1 to keep the valve closed, because that's part of the autonomic nervous system. The valves, especially the smooth muscle valves, need more B1 if you have any problem with your valves. That could be bladder valves, the valves in your stomach, even the valves in the eye that close. So there's different things that let light in and restrict light.
All right, very good. Always on it. The audience whipped that question right through, which asked, of all of these exercises for flat feet, which is the absolute best? Walking, sprinting, and foot exercises. And the audience, 68% say it's walking, 22% say it's sprinting, and 10% say it's exercising the footies. Any geniuses out there today?
So it's actually sprinting. Now, let me explain what happens when someone has a fallen arch. It's not necessarily, they'll say, oh, it's a bone displaced. Yeah, but why? You have a lot of ligaments that are attaching that bone. Flat feet is not a genetic thing. It's developed early on because that child didn't quite, maybe they were put in shoes that were just too artificial. They weren't out running in the grass as much to stimulate the bottom of that feet to cause that arch to kind of come up. The purpose of the arch is to allow free energy to act as a spring. So when you walk, it loads, and also to help people sprint, because you actually you have this nice little spring, just like a preloaded rubber band. So the question is, if you have flat feet as a child or even as an adult called an acquired flat foot problem, then how do you deal with that? How do you put that back? How do you create a spring? How do you create that mechanism? Well, sprinting, because you're running on the ball of the foot and you're actually strengthening not just that spring mechanism, you're kind of overriding it. You're also strengthening all these muscles that become atrophied when someone has flat feet, which is the back part of the body. The lower back, the glutes, the hams all become very weak because of the compensation that happened. As people have flat feet, they tend to get strong muscles in their psoas, and it brings them forward. So sprinting strengthens the glutes, the hamstrings, and it actually can put the person back into that state where it's almost as if they have arches now, but really they don't. But that's the best exercise, sprinting. I will be doing a video on that, so stay tuned.
Boy, that's interesting. Okay, Stu4510 from Rumble. I've tried many programs, but I've been stuck on my weight for a long time. I've done extended water fasts and I'm constantly constipated and tired. What can we do for Stu?
So let's say you've done all the right things and you watch my video on plateau, right? You've cut your carbs down to 0. You've fasted longer. You're sleeping better, right? All these things. You're reducing your stress. But what I would also recommend is looking at other problems that you have, other physical, like your thyroid, for example, or you said constipation. Well, that's a big problem. That's a huge problem that could relate to why you're not losing weight, just because it's part of your digestion. So I would look deeper into that and try to solve that problem, and that might help your weight. I had a gal come into my office long ago. She wanted to lose weight, and I noticed in her history she has constipation. She goes once a month, and I'm not kidding. Okay. And she wants to lose weight. I said, no, we need to focus on your digestion. She goes, no, I just want to worry about my weight. I said, you're not going to be able to lose weight with constipation. And so we eventually convinced her. But as you're trying to correct this digestive problem, I would use different remedies to at least cope with the problem while you're trying to fix it. And that would be different herbal laxatives, just to get the bowels going. And then as you try to figure this out, because it could be a change in the diet. It could be you need more B1. So these, or a better probiotic, it would take someone that knows how to really figure out that root causes and then eliminate that problem and then see if you still have weight problems.
All right. Well, we're going to go to our next nice guest, Melissa. But first, let's go with our second question of the day. And there it is, Doc.
True or false? If you have kidney disease and you get protein in the urine, the remedy is to reduce protein in the diet. Is that true or false?
All right, climb on it, audience. And Melissa, you can take a stab at that too. But first, your question. Go ahead with your one question for Dr. Berg, please.
Thanks, Dr. Berg. Yes, I was post-menopausal for about 8 years, and I just recently had a complete hysterectomy. Been keto for many years, and just wondering, what are the differences now that I don't actually have eggs in a uterus, even though I have been menopausal for, say 8 years from now. So
right.
Just looking at different things to be looking for.
Have you felt better or worse after that hysterectomy?
Actually, I felt amazing during the whole process. So I'm fairly healthy. Weird things have happened, like my face is very ruddy and lots of bumps on my forehead and those kinds of things. I haven't had hot flashes. I haven't had those kind of things. Just kind of looking to, as my body gets back to healing and all that, what should I be looking for?
Got it. And then the reason why they did that was because I
had a huge fibroid tumor.
Okay. So a couple things I would recommend, because they don't really tell you what causes fibroids, but there's a great antidote to that. And not
Okay.
that you have a fibroid anymore, but I think I would use that fibroid as a clue to start
Okay.
to increase your vitamin D level, because
Okay.
high doses of vitamin D3, you know, 20,000, 30,000 IUs of vitamin D3 with the magnesium and the cofactors um, would have helped to shrink the fibroid. So
Okay.
this could mean you're still deficient. So that's one thing. Secondly, um, they will tell you that the uterus and the ovaries after menopause completely 100% shut down. They don't do anything. Well, they do a little bit of something. So now the
Mhm.
question is, what's happening? Well, your adrenals now are doing all the work, and this could be
Okay.
why the skin is kind of doing some things. So what I would do if I were you, and I would continue to support your adrenals in any way possible, maybe with something like ashwagandha or something like that. But also, if you want to optimize this problem, there's a great couple products from Standard Process that I used to recommend. I don't, I'm not associated with that company anymore, but they have a couple products that are good to take if you're missing certain organs. And one is called Ovotrophin, and the other one's called Utrophin. And one
Okay.
supports those two organs, and then it's like it supports the missing parts of the body that you don't have.
Oh,
Anyway,
yes, sir.
I've just seen good. What's that?
I said yes.
Oh,
I got that.
okay. Yeah. So those. So I've just seen women who've taken those. They seems to just work. They seem to do better. It's like kind of giving them the function again without giving them those organs. Don't ask me why it works, but it seems to work. I would take one of each before you go to bed and see if that clears anything up. But I wouldn't do that at the same time as the vitamin D. I would just take one thing at a time and then see if the skin clears up, because you might not even need that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Sure, no problem.
Great call, Melissa. We hope that helps you out. And let's see. Let's now go to social media again. Wait a minute. Audience, you've already answered quiz question number 2. How could that be? All right, Melissa, I know you didn't have time to look at that, but it asks, true, false, if you have kidney disease and get a protein in the urine, the remedy is to reduce protein in the diet. And 98% of respondents say that's false. 2% are hanging on for true.
So there's two, and I probably should have clarified this. I'm not necessarily talking about advanced kidney disease where you have like a stage 5, in which case the kidneys are so damaged, like you have to really be careful of what you consume and what you take. But what you need to know when you have like a stage 1, 2, or even 3, the kidney becomes damaged and you start losing protein. The person starts becoming very, very deficient in protein. And so the recommendation is to avoid protein. Don't ask me why, because now we're already deficient in protein. When you're deficient in protein in the blood, you start swelling up with fluid and edema. So you see these kidney cases where the feet are just swollen, and then the recommendation is to don't consume much protein. But I think if you did increase your protein, you may find that it satisfies the deficiency of protein, because it's very dangerous to have a protein deficiency. And I'm not telling you to take it if you're stage 5, but it's something to step back and question, like, do we really need to start cutting down protein even more since we're already deficient? I don't think so. So I would just, up your protein and see if that doesn't help. And you'll know it within your feet and your lower legs, like the pitting edema might just get better, because so many, even diabetics especially, because that really damages the kidney, they are so deficient in protein, their muscles start falling apart, they get sarcopenia, which is a muscle problem. So anyway, food for thought, Steve.
All right, very good. And I'll tell you what, Rumble is always replete with these interesting handles. We'll go straight over to the Swiss 1291 from Rumble. What are your thoughts about DHEA supplementation for a 57-year-old male? Does it help or is it useless? I'm on a low-carb diet, exercise regularly, and my weight is in the normal range. What do we do for Swiss?
It's really beneficial if you need it. Now, there you can go and spend the money and get a test to see if you're deficient in it, that's a precursor for your hormones. And so you can spend the money to get a test, or you can probably buy a very inexpensive bottle of DHEA and just start taking a little bit. And if you're female, you don't want to take a lot because that could actually give you too much, and you could have maybe more testosterone than you need. If you're male, you might be fine, but even men and women need it, and a lot of people are deficient; they don't know it. But if you just buy some, it's very inexpensive. Try some, see how you do. If you don't feel any difference, then you probably didn't need it. There's other precursors and different things that you can take, and I've done videos on this, so you can watch the details. But I think we'll leave it at that without confusing you too much more than you already are.
I know confusing everyone is my job. And so in that vein, let's go to Shushant from YouTube. Is it fine to work out during intermittent fasting? Are there any side effects like bloating? Is it better to exercise during a fast or after you break it? A lot of good questions.
If you're trying to lose weight and you want to speed it up, if you exercise in a fasted state, it will help you because you're going to tap into more fat and less dietary calories. So, but you really need to just test it out, because some people, when they're fasting, they exercise and they get more tired, they feel weaker. Well, maybe you're not quite there yet to be able to do that. You want to be able to really be adapting to fat burning before you start doing that. So it's just something you test out and see if you can handle that or not. But I made the mistake of not just fasting for 36 hours without water too, dry fasting, but then I also overdid it working in the garden when it was hot and sweating. Not a good idea. So the point is that it's one of those things where I would test it out, see if your body can adapt to it. Some people, boy, when they exercise and on a fasted state, boy, they just lose so much more weight.
Interesting, but be careful, as Dr. Berg says. Rose from YouTube, what benefits would you see coming from freeze-dried colostrum for a 66-year-old who is on a low or no carb diet? How long before someone might see a change? And this is Rose, a woman.
Colostrum is probably one of the most magical things that exists because it gives your immune system as a baby. And of course, we're talking about animal colostrum, but it just gives the immune system, and there's probiotics in there. This is why when you do the freeze-dried, now we have the live microbes, we have the antigens and immune factors there, and all the other cool stuff that's there to help your gut lining, to help your immune system, and also to stimulate the thymus gland that literally shrinks as you age. So I think someone that is older should experiment and take some of it. Don't take a lot right off the bat. Just take a little bit before bed. And then, because sometimes people have an immune reaction to that. I personally did not, but I would start taking a little bit, and then if you have no reaction, just take the whole bottle and see how you do. But I think that's a really smart thing to do. I am fascinated with colostrum. I'm just and all the different things that it works on, especially if someone has overdid it with prednisone and steroids and they're trying to recover from that. Anything that has shut down your immune system would benefit from colostrum.
All right, so here's the million-dollar question for all of us lay people. How do you know, where do you get it, and how do you know that it's not fake, or is there such a protection in place?
Now, I did some research on this, and of course, if you do a search, and I would spend the time with this, I would look at the different companies out there that have freeze-dried colostrum from grass-fed, grass-finished sheep or goats. There's a couple companies out there. There's not many. There's limited supply, and buy the top of the line. Now, you could also go to ChatGPT and just ask it, what is the freeze-dried goat or sheep colostrum that is from grass-fed, grass-finished animals, and then it might direct you in that area. That would be the ideal scene. Now, of course, the bigger ideal scene is to get it from breast milk, but where are you going to get that, right? You can't get it. And plus the colostrum, you're not going to get that either from breast milk, and they don't sell it, Steve. So I think I would stick with the sheep or goat. That's because the proteins in there are easier for us humans to digest. But if you take a sheep or a goat, I think the goat, if you can find a goat that has lived on a mountaintop, not been in a bad environment, and has the benefit of eating all these weeds, that's what they eat. So now we have higher levels of phytonutrients. So you're getting that component part. Now we're talking about a very interesting product. I personally live on a farm that has part of it mountainous, and that's where I'm going to be putting my goats, and then I'm going to extract that milk to make cheese, and I'm going to make sure that it's, of course, everything is like raw, and so I'll tell you what happens if I survive that, but that's different than the colostrum, right? But colostrum is just a magical thing, and so is breast milk. It's just what it has in it, what it does. It's just fascinating. But a lot of people have a problem with milk, so this is why I recommend cheese, because it's a fermented product, or kefir or yogurt.
Interesting. Well, we thank you for that guidance. Chat GPT it is. All right, BRLP 1106 from Rumble. What advice could you share to help my 39-year-old son gain weight? Boy, there's something different in this day and age.
It's a combination of eating more calories, more fat, with more weight training, okay? More heavy weight training, lower reps, more full body. That's going to produce more weight. Now, someone will say, well, what about the carbs? Well, keep your carbs at 50 grams per day. So we increase it, but not too crazy, because I know there's a lot of practitioners out there that are gone off into recommending more carbs, but this is not good for the majority of the population that has metabolic disease. Their metabolism their mitochondria is just not healthy enough to deal with all those carbohydrates. So you're going to have to lower those, or else you're just going to push the person into metabolic syndrome. So anyway, that's a whole different topic.
All right. Well, here's a new topic, and it's quiz question number 3.
Okay, how about this question? Based on just weight, which has more protein, red meat or spirulina?
Interesting. Dig into it as we know you will. Hey, let's see, Craig, I'm going to give you a chance to turn your camera sideways. You're kind of cut off a little bit, or you might even be frozen, but I'm going to keep an eye on you. And if you get squared away there, I'm going to put you on the air. In the meantime, let's go back to social media with Abiram from YouTube. When I was fasting, my bilirubin values increased to 3.2. My physician says I have hyperbilirubin condition. He said it's okay to keep fasting. What are your thoughts?
Keep fasting. Keep fasting. I think, one thing that's cool about it, especially if you do a prolonged fast, like once a month for 3 days, boy, you can get a tremendous amount of benefit for your immune system, including, your blood cells as well. There is also another interesting technique that I'll do a video on. It's called hypoxic training, where you're basically cutting down the oxygen while you're working out, restricting the oxygen, and then you cycle and you increase the oxygen. And I think, I don't know the exact pattern. It might be 3 minutes and 3 minutes. So we're increasing oxygen and decreasing oxygen. I got the unit. I'm going to be experimenting with it. But if you do 4 cycles of that, and someone is experimenting, they told me in the 4th cycle, if you don't turn your oxygen on, it forces your spleen to just dump all these red blood cells, and you get this incredible oxygen rejuvenation system. So there could be something that you might want to look into with that to really strengthen your red blood cells and the recycling of the red blood cells that involves bilirubin, and cleaning out the recycling. That's what the spleen is. It's a recycling machine.
So many moving parts. Let's go to Sarah from YouTube. Is it possible to reduce food sensitivities when they are triggered by a reaction to a single source? I recently had a reaction to organic coffee, and now everything I eat has my body breaking out in itchy hives. Wonder what else was in there.
Yeah. I would try another coffee as well, because it could have been something. And there, even in organic coffee, it could be there's something called an aflatoxin in there, and that's a pretty nasty, moldy thing. That it's in coffee, it's in peanuts, and it's in grains, things like that. And let's say you got somehow a batch where you got some of that. Boy, that can make your liver react to a lot of different things. So, is there a way to kind of clean out the mold or fungus or something like that? Yeah, that you can do a couple things. One is propolis is a great antifungal. It comes from bees. There's also it's milk thistle that can also strengthen the liver. I would start taking that to see if you can strengthen those two areas, and then see if that reaction goes away.
All right, very good. And let's see. Let's go to. Let's see. Hang on a second. I think I saw a quiz question answered. Man, the audience is faster than the speed of light. And the quiz question asks, based on weight, which has more protein, red meat, excuse me, or spirulina? And 62% of our respondents say it's spirulina, and the remainder, 38%, say it's red meat. Any winners today, Doctor?
It's spirulina, but it's not the same. You can't really compare it, because you're creating a dehydrated product, and you'd have to consume a lot of that spirulina. And the other big problem is it's not bioavailable. It doesn't even compare to red meat as far as the absorption and the use of it. So red meat is just, you're going to get a lot more of it. But if you just look at the protein amounts and compare it by weight, you're going to get more protein in spirulina. But that doesn't really tell you the truth about how that protein is going in and you're utilizing it. The other thing you have to realize with protein is spirulina doesn't have the heme iron. It doesn't have the active form of vitamin A. It has the precursor, which you're not going to really get much of. So it has anti-nutrients. So you cannot get the same. You don't have all the cofactors. So even though this is protein, doesn't mean it's a better protein source. So I'm going to do a complete deep dive on this topic, Steve, very soon.
All right, very good. And the audience is going to do a deep dive on quiz question number 4.
Yeah, why does walking help your blood sugars more than other types of exercise?
Oh, interesting. Even more than aerobic or something. Is that the question? Yeah.
You'll see.
All right, I know I'm jumping the gun here. Orlando from YouTube, what is the best remedy for IBS?
I would do carnivore. I would cut out all these different things that are irritating it, which is going to be nuts, especially gluten and grains and beans and all these other things. And even fiber could irritate it. So I would go cut that out for a while and see if it doesn't help you. But I think originally what destroyed it was the gluten, and also the things that are in wheat. It's probably created more destruction to our colon than anything else out there. And then once you get leaky gut, then now a lot of other things irritate the gut. So unfortunately, a lot of health problems start with the gut, and this introduction of wheat, the modern wheat, has been our downfall.
Awful. CTL70 from Rumble. I heard your great interview on the Primal podcast. I ran my sprints this morning. How often do you sprint, Dr. Berg?
About twice a week, uphill, barefoot. And it's actually good to get grounding. Of course, you don't want to be sprinting on gravel, Steve, or in a park where there's maybe some sharp objects. So I'm very conservative of where I sprint and the grass I sprint, but it's I think that's, but you can use also the barefoot shoes. Those are really good for sprinting and also protecting the foot. Your children, the shoes that you put your children in should be like barefoot shoes. You shouldn't have the high heels, huge cushions. Let that arch develop with the kids playing outside a lot, and either barefoot or with those shoes to protect them against sharp objects.
Interesting. All right. So, our old buddy Saydow 10 from Rumble. What are your thoughts about eating wild Alaskan salmon daily to correct a omega-3 deficiency?
I love it. I love it. I would like to do that right now. In fact, I think people do not get enough fish. They don't get enough omega-3s. So that would be a great way to correct that, especially if someone has chronic inflammation and they have history of doing seed oils. It's going to take a while to fix that. And beefing up with more of that fish will be very beneficial, because you're just going to keep putting in those omega-3s. Now, I can't find that high quality fish where I live. So what I'll do, like salmon, so what I'll do is I'll do the canned cod liver a few times a week. I should probably do it every day for a month just to see what happens, and then do a video on that. But cod liver oil, wild caught, it's really amazing. It's massively loaded with not just omega-3s, but vitamin A and vitamin D.
All right. Let's see. Let's go to Mimi Sin from YouTube. What's the best approach to lower high blood pressure for seniors?
The absolute most important thing is to go in a low carb diet, getting rid of starches and sugars. Number 2, to increase your vitamin D3. Next one, increase magnesium glycinate, and then add some potassium if needed. But that will usually correct the problem. Now, sometimes it might lower the blood pressure, but your systolic is still a little higher. That's the sympathetic nervous system. That's too active. So you might need to sleep longer, do long walks, and then also take some ashwagandha, something to support the adrenals and the autonomic nervous system.
All right, very good. Let's go over to Disco Dave from YouTube. Any thoughts on the benefits of taking date seed powder? Is it helpful or just hype?
Date seed powder. I don't know. I've never looked at that. I'm going to look at it, but I don't have any information on it right now.
All right, well, I'm going to wait to see what happens to Dave before I go any further with that. So good luck with that, Dave. Thanks for chiming in. And Emma Bank from YouTube. Which supplements would resolve gastritis?
Zinc carnosine. Okay. Zinc carnosine. I did a whole video on this. It's also good for ulcers. And then also don't forget about your gut. You need a good probiotic. I think even that L-Reuteri, making your own probiotic, would be really awesome. Because sometimes, the stomach and the gut tend to work together. And if you don't fix the gut, sometimes the stomach never gets solved. But you can't acidify the stomach with gastritis, but you can actually heal it with the zinc carnosine.
Wow, that's very hopeful. Melissa from YouTube, do you have any suggestions for fungal infections in the groin? My husband has had 2 rounds of topical cream and the oral meds, but no change in his condition. Ouch.
The fastest way to get rid of a fungal jock itch or whatever fungal infection is to starve the fungus. Starve the fungus with going on 0 sugar and starches Okay. That way they can't survive anymore. They'll die. It's because you just starved them of their food that they love. Parallel with that, I would take a very good probiotic, and I'm not biased of my own. So you can do research on that. But what happens is you start building up the bacteria, and then now we have it keeps the fungus in check. But I know people, when they think of fungus topically, they think they have to do something topically always, but also working the internal, you can actually fix the external, which is interesting.
That's hopeful. Hope that helps your husband. All right, let's go to quiz question number 4, which asks simply, why does walking help your blood sugars? And Dr. Berg seemed to be specific with walking. 75% of respondents say that it burns off excess glucose. 20% say it lowers cortisol levels, which contribute to high levels of blood sugar. And 5% say it relaxes the good old adrenal glands.
All of you are correct. The muscles act as a sponge to suck the sugar out of your blood to bring that sugar down. And then the muscles don't require insulin. So if you have insulin resistance, you're still good because the muscle can take it and use that energy to pump and work, contract and relax. So this is why it's so important to walk after you eat. Go for a little walk, especially if you've eaten too many carbs. Of course, none of you have ever done that, but going for that walk and really just taking your muscles and pulling all that sugar out of the blood, quickly you can stabilize your blood sugar and burn it off. But if you're doing any type, I know some people are going to say, wow, I can now have my cake and eat it too. But the problem is if you start doing a lot of refined sugars and walking still, or taking some type of glucose, something, you have to realize that it takes vitamin B1 to metabolize that glucose. So you are going to be kind of also reducing your B1. So it'll work for a while, then you tap out your B1, and now you end up with the B1 deficiency. So you might find that my blood sugars are back to normal, and you keep eating sugar and burn it off, and that you end up with nervous tension and anxiety. Where did that come from? The B1. So you need to take more B1.
So there's just doesn't see any path forward to eat like crud and have it too.
I keep trying to figure out a way to do it, Steve, but I still haven't figured it out. I'm sorry.
Right. Well, I know. It's so tempting. And here's the last quiz question of the day.
True or false? Loneliness has the same mortality risk as smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
That's very sad. All right, audience, climb on that. Let's see if that's true. And so on. Find some friends and quit smoking. Let's go back to, let's see. How about another Archie? Let's go to Archie from YouTube. What are your thoughts about the benefits of taking black seed cumin oil? Here's another thing. What are the pros and cons? You familiar with that?
It's another one of those remedies that has stood the test of time. It goes 4,000 BC, it goes way back. So it works on just about everything. It's one of those things where, if in doubt, take some black seed oil. It's amazing. I've done videos on it. I don't think there's anything that doesn't help. So it's a good remedy. It's kind of an interesting taste. It's, I kind of like it, even though it's kind of a weird taste. As a side note, Steve, I'm experimenting with essential oils and also just breathing those in before you go to sleep to see which ones help people go to sleep. And some of these essential oils that really are smoky, like they don't really smell good, but they're smoky, boy, they'll just put you out like that. It's like, poof, and you sleep much better. So I'm kind of experimenting now to see the effects of that.
Wow, interesting. Can't wait to hear the outcome. Nora from Facebook, could you please discuss the nutritional remedies and deficiencies as they relate to social anxiety? Keep in mind I have higher than normal levels of calcium. Does that all fit together somehow?
Well, then that means you're low in magnesium, which can greatly help your anxiety. because magnesium is the master controller over calcium. I'd throw some K2 in there as well. And also some vitamin D3, because vitamin D3 will bring your mood downward. Now, the other thing that I always recommend is that L-Reuteri cultured yogurt mixture that I've done videos on to help with social anxiety. That will help you more than anything. Half a cup of that a day, it'll help you. And then throw some B1 in there, then you no longer have a problem.
Wow, let's talk about magnesium. Chanel for Lynn from Rumble. Could you explain the function of magnesium Krebs cycle powder in your supplements? What makes it special? Thank you.
So magnesium has about 300 different functions, or shall I say it works with 300 different enzymes. So it does a lot. And one of the things that it does is it goes into the mitochondria and supplies the machinery with with help to keep that motor spinning. There's a little motor that you have in your cells that spins like 200 to 400 times a second, and it's cranking out ATP, which is energy. And it's basically taking a battery that's not charged and it's charging it up. And it's really interesting because it has this almost like a magnetic property that holds it together, and then a propelling release of it when you need the energy. It's a fascinating miracle, and the whole thing is based on magnesium. So that Krebs cycle magnesium would be one that would support more of the mitochondria than other functions.
Is that in your glycinate formula?
Yes.
Okay. Terrific.
Actually, no, it's not. It's not in that one. I think it's in my multivitamin mineral. Yeah, I think it's in several other ones. It's in the it's in this one here, the whole food vitamin mineral with minerals, but it's not in the magnesium glycinate. It's in the multivitamin with minerals.
All right, wonderful. It's out there. Okay, let's see. Let's go to the final quiz question of the day, which was a true-falser. Loneliness has the same mortality risk as smoking 15 cigarettes per day, and 100% of our respondents fear that it's true.
This was interesting to me because this stood out as a risk factor for dying prematurely that I didn't see coming until I started looking into it. I'm like, wait a second, can this be true? Loneliness, social isolation. So this is so I'm starting to put that in a lot of protocols, because I mean, people tend to not emphasize that enough. And even think about animals, right? That gives you that interaction. And petting zoos and all these other things that can greatly help. But I think it's an underrated risk factor that could explain why when someone goes on a vacation or they go to a party, and even though they're going off their program, they seem to do okay. Even though they're smoking 15 cigarettes, they seem to do okay. So, because you always hear the argument, well, my grandfather smoked until he was 99 years old. Maybe he had a lot of friends. I don't know. Something to think about, Steve.
Absolutely. Okay, Ruth from our friends at Rumble. I've been diagnosed with AFib. I take metoprolol and Eliquis. Anything else she should be doing to control that?
The deeper root cause, I believe, is a severe magnesium deficiency. To correct it, your body only absorbs a little bit at a time, so you can't just correct it in a day. It could take months or even up to a year to fully build up. So I would recommend taking magnesium glycinate, just probably 600 milligrams at least over some months to put that back. Even though they're treating your atrial fib with something else, that underlying root cause at some point needs to be corrected, because that magnesium is not just there to help you with keeping the heart in rhythm. It's there for a lot of other things: your muscles, your energy, your blood sugars. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So the medication is purely treating it symptom-wise. It's not correcting anything. And this is why, I'd like someone to explain to me, they took a medication to correct the problem, then I can get off of it. No, they usually never come off their medications.
That's tough. Fly High from YouTube. How important is it to avoid supplements that contain non-organic herbs?
Sometimes, if you know the source, even though it's not organic, it's still good. Like, they have an area of herbs. It's called wild. I can't remember the name. It's something wild something, where they go out in the wild and they just pick these herbs. It's not organic because it's not. They didn't have to. Maybe they didn't fill out all the paperwork on that, but it's pretty good. So it really depends on the history and the source of it. I would just try to get some transparency to see where people get that. And then, I think the problem is a lot of the big pharma and chemical companies have bought up the vitamin and herbal industry. And so they're going cheap. So they might just get their ingredients from China or other places that just don't focus on quality. They just keep them very standardized. Well, I don't care if something's standardized as far as milligrams. What I care about, where is it coming from? Because it's really hard to keep even the color of an herb to be standardized without trying to add chemicals and do something with it. This is one of the reasons why one of the products I use, in different batches, it comes in different colors, because we're using different seasonal herbs that change color.
Yeah, so to heck with the showboating. The quality is what brings you home. Okay, Julie from YouTube, what's the best way to cleanse parasites from our bodies?
Black walnut hulls are good. Wormwood extract is another good one. Together, you could find something. And of course, you can use other things like garlic. That'll just cause these parasites to leave the house and just come out of your body and not come back.
All right, that's hopeful. Bomac23 from Rumble. My daughter had to go to emergency room after getting a UTI after a viral infection. How would I treat this issue? That must be pretty serious.
I would focus on increasing your microbiome. There are certain microbes, probiotics, that support that system. And you can do research on them and get them and start using them. That would probably be the best thing, to kind of build up the good guys to defend that. Because the minute you start going after and killing off with something, these pathogens, it comes with a package. A much better strategy is to build up your defenses, your immune system. And part of that is your microbiome.
All right, very good. And by the way, Craig Edelman, you froze on screen, and in case you're still able to hear us, I'm going to save your link for next week and just log back on, and let's see if we can't get your question. Sorry that happened to you this week. Let's see, Dorothy from YouTube, what can someone without a gallbladder do when it comes to lowering blood sugar levels? Is that involved?
Well, the gallbladder probably doesn't have as much to do with blood sugars as other things. But if you're missing a gallbladder, I think you just need to realize that tube from your liver that connects to the small, now it's just going right to the small intestine. There's no side storage pack to hold and concentrate the bile. So there's a possibility that you might become deficient or insufficient over time. And then the way that you know that is if your stool starts floating, it's light colored, you get constipation, then you need to start taking some bile right after the meal, bile salts. And on occasion, people have a lot of fullness underneath the right rib cage, and it's not necessarily a stone. It's the stuff that comes before the stone, which is bile sludge. And the reason why that becomes a sludge and kind of gets stuck in that tube is because you're deficient in bile, the actual cause of a stone or sludge. So this is when you should take another type of bile salt called TUDCA, and that just opens up the flow of bile because it gives you more bile and gets rid of the sludge, and a lot of that underneath the right rib cage problem goes away. I had it for 12 years. I wish I would have known that TUDCA, that remedy TUDCA back then. Boy, that would have saved me years of misery.
That's interesting. Well, where's the time gone, Doc? Here we are, the end of Friday again.
Well, thank you so much for your wonderful questions. Stay tuned for more videos coming up, and have a great weekend.